everybody, and welcome back to The Swamp. That was like a really radio host intro I just did. I was trying to brainstorm like
Do you work for NPR?
Oh my god, no. Then I would be like, talking really close into the microphone and introducing our show.
All right, Ira Glass.
But this is The Swamp. It's our podcast, and it's an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And my name is Dara. What's yours?
Emily, what's going on?
Oh my god, hey. So funny to run into you here. There were no quotes. Sometimes we try to open with a quote, and there were just like no quotes from this movie. This movie actually really just didn't stick with either of us particularly.
I didn't like this movie, really.
Hard. You've never seen it.
No, we're talking about Chef, by the way.
Yes, 2014.
2014 Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau's self-insert fanfic.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Basically, Chef, which to kick off, we're doing Menu March. So we're going to do all food movies. And I have to shout out from Instagram at It's Ya Girl Mothra. I believe their name is Xochi. They suggested we do Foodie February, but we were already doing Freaky February when they had suggested it. So I was like, let's just bump it to Menu March, which I think all food movies is very on brand for us. So thank you to Xochi for suggesting this, and anybody who has ideas about month themes, movie suggestions, specifically suggestions for this month, food movies. We have covered Ratatouille and Spirited Away already, which were like the two that I had first thought of, and I was like, oh, we already did the two best food movies, but I feel like we've got some good ones coming. But if you have any ideas about like maybe some like maybe not as obvious, like if there's a specific food scene in a movie that like really stuck with you or something, slide into our DMs. I don't know, I'd be interested to hear it. But we're doing Menu March, and it felt appropriate to start off with the most like food porny movie of all time.
Here's the thing: is I think they could have done more food porn.
Yeah,
it fell off.
It was a little, like, tonally inconsistent to me between,
Absolutely.
like, the food porn shots, very, like, chef's table, trying to do the, like, look how fast he's cutting that onion, ooh, thing. And then, like, heartwarming family story, quirky comedy kind of thing. I'm like, I wish the two of those had blended a little bit better, because I feel like as soon as they got onto the food truck, we didn't get any more of those, like, up-close detail food-making shots. It was all just them, like, panini pressing sandwiches, which is, like, okay. Like, I get it that that's your life now, but, like, there's still a way to make that kind of cooking aesthetically pleasing. You can make any kind of cooking aesthetically pleasing with the right, like, you know, art direction. I don't know.
This movie didn't have any direction. I think, and we've talked about it before, about movies that are kind of without a plot. This movie had a plot, and it still felt like a sort of like a nothing movie. You know what I mean? It didn't have a fucking clue where it was going. The second act was insufferably long and poorly paced. And then like it's just like Jon Favreau like wrote this movie and never edited it. Like he never got it peer reviewed. Yeah, he never got it peer reviewed or anything like that. It was just his rough draft, yeah. And then it just got put on the screen.
He took all of his Iron Man money, and then he just wrote, produced, directed, and starred in this movie, so he didn't have to ask anyone for permission for anything.
No. Oh my
which
God.
I feel kind of indifferent about Jon Favreau as like a celebrity figure. I think it's kind of interesting the way he's bounced in between doing like the big Disney Marvel stuff, because he is known most recently for, he did the Mandalorian show that like really blew up, was kind of like, in my opinion, the first Disney Plus show that like really got people like looking to subscribe to that platform. And obviously they've done several Star Wars themed TV shows since, which in my opinion, none of which have been as successful. I don't know his involvement with like Boba Fett or any of that. I wouldn't know. But I know he basically like was the like the pioneer for doing the Mandalorian show, and he has produced or directed or whatever like 8 Marvel movies, like all of the Avengers, all of the Iron Mans, and I think all of the Tom Holland Spider-Mans are all Jon Favreau productions.
Yeah, that makes fucking sense why this movie's bad then.
Yeah, I think almost all of the ones that he appears as, like, the Happy Hogan character, if he shows up, that means that he's also, like, doing producing or directing stuff as well. But then also it's so random because, like, he also made the movie Elf. Like, and, like, fucking Zathura. Like, I don't know, his, like, catalog is sort of all over the place, and this movie seems like a weird, like, spot in the midst of all of that, which he clearly was trying to, like, step away from the big Hollywood production, like, Marvel thing to, like, do his own little creative side project. Like, that's very obvious that that's what's happening here. But I think that he still couldn't let go of some of that, like, bad storytelling.
Dude, like, it's just not good. It's just not good. Like, aside from the fact that, like, he put himself in between, like, two of, like, A-list Hollywood, like, beautiful women and everything like that.
Right. Ask any, like, straight man who their, like, top Hollywood crushes are, and then statistically, like, you know, bell curve that out. Like, ScarJo and Sofia Vergara are on, like, so many people's, like, just, like, off the dome list of, like, who's hot? Sofia Vergara. Yeah, right. She's gonna be the ex-wife. And then, ScarJo. Yeah, let's get her in here, too. I like this movie a little bit. I think it's charming, and I do kind of like some of the food porny aspects of it, just because I'm a sucker for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do believe that this movie is best watched with 40% of your attention. Do something else, you know? Like, have a craft going. Do some crochet. Like, do something. Put this on while you're, like, cleaning your house, so you can, like, out of the corner of your eye, like, catch something that's, like, cute that's happening, and then, like, ignore, like, 60% of it. Which is an awful thing to say, but I think it's the perfect movie for that kind of thing. Like, oh, look, now he's making a grilled cheese. So fun. And then you're like, let me get back to cleaning my kitchen. Like, that, to me, this movie's really, and, you know, there needs to be movies that are good for that. But I feel like I remember it being more, like, consistent and entertaining than this watch around. I was like, oh, no, this movie's, like, really corny. Some of the dialogue, like, made me want to crawl out of my skin.
Oh my god, they were putting fucking cornstarch on their balls. There was that whole...
So stupid.
There was, like, this whole, like, 1 minute scene with the fucking police that just didn't need to be there. This movie is 2 hours long. This is one of my probably top examples coming from this podcast that this movie could be cut so hard. Doesn't even need to be 2 hours or an hour and a half. It could be an hour. This movie could be like a
45 minutes. Yeah. 45 minutes. This could be like an episode of a TV show, which, speaking of that, did you know that there is a TV show? I think it's some sort of, like, I don't know if it's a competition or if it's like a reality show, but it's on Netflix. I had no idea about it until I was, like, IMDb facting this movie before this recording. And it's a Netflix show called, I think, just The Chef Show. And I think it's just, like, them making food. I don't think it's a competition or anything, but it's like a reality show spin-off of this movie, which it's like, okay, yeah, there aren't enough of those out there already.
Yeah. I don't know, like, it was so pointless, I guess. Ugh. It
was like, so if we want to do a quick recap, if you haven't seen this movie, it's basically Jon Favreau's self-insert fanfiction where he is a chef at a big fancy restaurant, and it's owned by Dustin Hoffman, who is, like, really creatively restricting Jon Favreau, Chef Carl Casper, like, what he puts on the menu and stuff, and he's not really feeling fulfilled. He's hooking up with the hostess / sommelier, maybe, I don't know, Scarlett Johansson, obviously, and his ex-wife, Sofia Vergara, so he's kind of, you know, in the middle of that, and then he loses his job because of, like, a Twitter altercation with a food critic, which this movie, it does end up being just, like, a 90-minute mid-section commercial for Twitter in the year.
Yep.
This came out in 2014, and it felt so much older than that. If you told me this movie came out in 2006, I, like, probably would have believed you.
I could understand it. I could give it a little more leeway.
But he gets fired from he, like, leaves the restaurant, and he's sort of jobless, aimless, not knowing what to do with his life, and he kind of wants to reconnect with his 9-year-old son, So he goes with them to Miami to, like, be the babysitter, basically. And Sofia Vergara sort of, like, ropes him into getting this food truck because that's what she thinks he should do, because she's, like, a big event planner or whatever. So, like, she knows best. And he gets this food truck, and then they renovate the food truck. He calls his former sous chef, John Leguizamo, who flies across the country, quits his job, and says, yeah, man, I'll do this with you. And then they just do the food truck across the country, and it's great. And he takes his son with him, and they reconnect, and it's a great time. And that's the end of the movie.
Sorry, him and Sofia Vergara get remarried at the end.
Oh my god, that's the part of this movie that I, like, mentally black out, because I did not remember that from the first time I watched this. And then I was like, are they the ones getting married? And I'm like, what the actual... That is, like, there are a lot of things I would change about this movie, and we can get into that, but, like, that is the one plot point that I'm like, oh my god. And I think if you should not legally be allowed to remarry somebody you've already divorced once. Like, I'm sorry, you can, like, get back together and co-parent and, like, rekindle your romantic relationship, but legally, you should not be able to get married again. That's not okay. I mean,
do that all the time.
I know, I guess. Maybe I'm not one to talk.
I'll tell you what, the only thing that I did really like about this movie was the Latino representation, because, I mean, Anthony Bourdain, like, said it best. Like, you go to a French kitchen, it's Latino people cooking. You go to an Italian kitchen, it's Latino people cooking. Like, I feel like that is, like, one of the, like, most realistic parts of this movie. That's, like, on the opposite end of the spectrum from him being married to Sophia and then, like, Scarjo. It's, like, in the spectrum. And then this is the most realistic thing. But yeah, it was just really, because, like, it's just Jon Favreau, like, walking around, like, Little Havana and, like, cooking, like, Spanish food and everything like that. And it's, like, at a certain point I had to look it up. I was like, is he Hispanic?
I Googled, is Jon Favreau white? I also Googled, is Jon Favreau white, when I was watching this movie, because I agree with you that I think the involvement of people of color in the restaurant industry is probably, this movie is, like, a fraction of, like, what the reality is.
Yeah.
But I also think that this movie, I'm not going to call it, like, racist or anything, but, like, okay, Jon Favreau, white guy, you make this movie about, like, the plight of the Caucasian man who's, like, finding salvation in the quote-unquote authenticity of, like, Cuban or Latin American cooking, with your Colombian best friend and your Colombian ex-wife by your side. And, like, you're the protagonist, and you're the one who's, like, finding self-healing and re-recognition and, like, being rejuvenated by this, like, cultural otherness, like, stepping away from the highbrow shit and really getting down to, like, what's real and authentic, which is, like, a fine storyline. Like, there's nothing objectively racist about that, but to put, like, a white guy at the center of all that, and it's, like, him really reclaiming his creativity through cooking by, like, making Cubano sandwiches, like, oh my, in a food truck called El Jefe, like, that, I was just like, okay, I know it's not, like, blatantly anything overtly wrong, but I'm like, how about we, like, tell a story about, okay, Jon Favreau, you want to make a chef movie? Maybe stay behind the camera and let's talk about, like, maybe somebody who it is their passion to open a food truck. It's not this other, you know, side gig for them. And it is their, you know, their passion to, like, provide this food from their culture to people in a place that maybe don't get it otherwise, you know?
Yeah, he really snatched, like, Cubanos, like, bro, you were born in New Jersey, probably.
Jon Favreau is from New York. He's from Brooklyn. That's what I was, like, Googling. I was like, what race is this man? Because he seems white, but, like, I don't want to go off on this tangent if he's, like...
I'm sure part of it is, like, he grew up, like, eating a lot of that food and everything like that and all that shit, and I'm sure that's part of why he put it in. But,
no, and I think having a respect and, like, really wanting to honor, like, that kind of cooking is really important, but then, like, how about put a chef of that ethnicity at the center of your story? That's even better, you know?
Yeah.
But again, this is his, like...
literally, the only two characters in the movie that are white are him and the food critic.
And Dustin Hoffman is white. Yeah. Is Dustin Hoffman?
Yeah, all of the men in, like, a position of power.
Yeah, basically.
Which makes sense, but... I don't know.
Yeah.
It just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, I guess.
Yeah, that was a reading of it that I kind of felt more heavily this time around, because I think my first watch, I was so, like, oh, this is so, like, fun and different from other movies really doing the, like, oh, we're gonna spend a lot of time, like, ruminating on, like, you know, how beautiful food is or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I do think, like, not that these two movies had any, like, shared goals or objectives, but I think The Menu pretty recently did that same, like, we're gonna parody Chef's Table type filmmaking, like, of, like, food porn, basically, but theirs was, like, with an actual story in mind, and this one is like, wouldn't it be cool if there were 10 minutes of this movie dedicated to a grilled cheese? Yeah, man, let's do that. Like,
yeah. I wish there was more of that. You know what I actually liked in this movie, and I feel like I never see her in anything really, is Sofia Vergara. Like, I love her in Modern Family. I thought she was outstanding.
But yeah, I agree. I think she totally, though, has been, like, pigeonholed into, like, that character
Absolutely.
that she is in Modern Family. She's always, like, the Latina wife.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like I got to, like, really see her, like, act, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah,
which...
she's always used as, like a figure to me. Like, her characters to me never really, like, get agency or, like, their own storylines. She's always, like, she's, like, the hot foreign wife. Yeah, right? That's, like, what true. She always... And I'm just like, oh, like, maybe, I don't know. I would have liked at that. So we can get into, like, things we would have changed, because this time around I was, like, rewriting this movie in my head. And if they, at the end of this movie, had come to a resolution of, like, maybe let's be business partners and let's co-parent and let's, like, you know, let's figure out how this relationship works. And, you know, you could even leave it open-ended. Like, maybe they're going to get romantically entangled or whatever. But just, like, a single conversation where her character, like, exerts some sort of, like, oh, I see something in you and I want to help you and lift you up. And this is something I could be involved in. But we weren't a good romantic pair. Or, like, I'm not ready for that again, or something, you know? Because the only time is, like, him getting mad at her that she, like, fucked her ex-husband once is, like, the most screen time, the most dialogue she ever has at any point in this movie. Yep. It's her being like, well, of course I had sex with Robert Downey Jr. We're so close. Like, that whole part could have been cut out of this movie.
Yeah. It was just, they drove home that he was, like, a bad dad, like, so hard, too. Like, oh my God, like, I didn't need, like, that much of it, dude. Like, it was, like, 15 minutes of, like, just unnecessary, like, drilling the plot home, you know what I mean? And it was the same thing with all that weird fucking Twitter shit. Like, you know what I mean?
The Twitter thing was weird and kind of aimless to me, and, like, the specification that everything happens on Twitter was also really weird. Like, they could have used, like, social media as, like, a blanket statement or something. Yeah. I don't know. But the bad dadness of it all is something we can get into, because I find that one of the things this movie is lacking the most for me is, like, points of tension outside of within himself. Like, he's having a lot of inner conflict with, like, I don't feel fulfilled by my art, like, my career and my art. I want to do this. That's a struggle. Oh, now I'm jobless and I'm feeling like a bad dad and I can't take care of my family. That's a struggle. Oh, like, now I feel guilty for taking help from my wife's ex-husband. All of the conflict in this movie is within himself, which is fine, but it wasn't, like, extrapolated enough for any of that to really amount to much. So you have to put other points of tension in the movie. Like, he's, like, actively working with his ex-wife, and they seem to have a really amicable relationship, right? Yeah. Which is a fine thing to portray, but I'm like, you have to put the tension somewhere, and I feel nowhere. Like with the being a bad dad thing, his kid still seemed to really love him and put him on a certain pedestal, like, as a dad. And I'm not saying they had to add substance abuse into this, because that's, like, a whole, like, heavy thing, but he works in a kitchen, and what are the statistics of, like, people who work in kitchens in America? I'm like, nobody did a line of cocaine once this movie. I'm sorry, that's just not realistic. Hardly any cig ripping. Like, I think we saw somebody smoke a cigarette, like, once?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
They're just,
like, it's insinuated that, like, one of the other chefs is, like, hungover a lot and all that shit. But speaking of cocaine, I want to just take a moment to acknowledge the fact that Cocaine Bear was released this week. And
have you seen it?
No, I haven't. But like as a movie podcast, if you've seen Cocaine Bear, I'd really like it if you could write into us and tell us your thoughts. Because I am on the edge of my fucking seat. I want to see it so bad.
Same.
I saw a tweet where someone was like, just got invited to to go see Cocaine Bear with this group that's doing a line of coke every time the bear does coke.
Oh my god. I'm also really excited to see Cocaine Bear. Definitely Henry and I are gonna like make it a fancy date night, you know?
I love that. I think I'm gonna do the same thing.
Out on the town. But yeah, like I don't think they had to include substance abuse, but I do think that is such a big part of the like, maybe he could have been like a recovering addict and that's why he felt like he was a bad dad, because maybe that's like what had caused the divorce or why he felt like he wasn't there for a big part of his kid's childhood. Like that is one line of dialogue about how he is like a recovered addict could have added so much more depth to this movie. That just like depth. That's what it's lacking so much. Everything was so surface level. But to get into, I think the one thing that really just could have been tweaked that I think would have changed a lot for me is the age of his son. So his son is 9. And like I said, still seems to really like put his dad on a certain pedestal. He really wants to spend time. He's like asking if he can go to the grocery store with him and stuff. And he's like, you know, obviously not like really letting his son like be that part of his life or whatever.
I'm assuming you would have like aged him up and made him like have a little more like animosity towards his dad.
Yes,
for,
I would have made him like I would have made him like a disgruntled 13, 14-year-old who like this kid, this 9-year-old doesn't understand the like foundations of divorce. Basically, he's like, why don't you live at home anymore? Basically, and like clearly it's been a long time. Like he has an apartment. This doesn't seem fresh or new. He's like, why won't you come home? Why won't you come live home? Which is, I'm sure, something a lot of like people, like kids who have divorced parents, like had to not understand if they were at a certain age. But if he was 13 or 14, he'd be like, yeah, my fucking parents are divorced because they don't love each other anymore. And I think if he could have, because
dad sucks dick.
Right, I think if he could have been more, because it was specifically the scene where Jon Favreau pulls his son aside and is like, I may not have been the best dad, but I make a damn good sandwich. Horrible. Oh, he's basically like, maybe I haven't always been there for you, but I've always been there in the kitchen giving people good food, which is just like, and I wanted him, I'm like, I wish this little 9-year-old would morph into a 14-year-old and like spit on his dad's shoes and say, fuck you. Like, give him the intelligence to be like, absolutely fuck you for saying that, like, because you make really good sandwiches, that gives you a free pass for, like, not really being there for me, like, growing up. What?
Like, I want to see this movie transformed into, like, a drama.
Right? Yeah, I think it could have still, dramas can still have funny moments, and I don't think that this movie was not funny enough, in my opinion, to even categorize it as a comedy. So yeah,
I didn't laugh at like any of this movie. I don't think, is it categorized as a comedy?
I would say maybe, like, let's
see.
I don't even know. I get maybe, but yeah, dial up the drama. In my opinion, I totally agree.
Comedy drama.
Yeah. Ugh. And it doesn't even have to get like dark or anything per se. But I would say make the kid a little bit older, and then also the fact that at the end, the kid is really jazzed about working in the food truck, and he, like, you know, oh, maybe I want to follow in your footsteps, maybe, like, us cooking together is, like, a foundation of our relationship, and now, like, I really want to, like, you know, work after school and weekends on this food truck, and that's how we're gonna, like, start to repair our relationship. To me, another really effective switch could have just been that maybe he isn't so much into the cooking thing, like he is basically forced to go on this cross-country road trip where, like, he's not really, like, feeling super jazzed about having to fucking wake up at 6 a.m. to go grocery shopping for, you know, Cuban sandwiches that he doesn't give a shit about. But the thing that this kid, it seems to be actually good at, or at least, you know, he's a young person, so obviously he has a great he has a great foundational understanding of social media, and he basically is the reason the food truck has any success in the first place, is that he's creating, like, Facebook pages and Instagram accounts, and he's doing the, you know, the 1 second a day video thing. I mean, he's supposed to be 9, which to me is a little early to be giving him the, like, precocious little kid really knows how. Oh my god, the big, like, revelation that he geo-tagged the food truck, and that's why there's a line out the door. I'm like, oh my god, can we just, like, fucking be fucking for real for a second? But 2014, I guess I'm not giving it enough credit. Like, that still was a decade ago, so, like, I know social media has changed a lot, but I'm like, maybe make it that this kid, I don't know, not to say he has, like, a passion for marketing or something, but, like, maybe I don't want to follow in my dad's footsteps, but maybe I'm really good at this other thing that is also beneficial and helpful. And, like, that just, they had,
like, how has the kitchen not, like, traumatized him? Like, it's taken his dad away from him, like, you know what I mean?
Right? Also, like, so many OSHA violations. Are there not child labor laws? Like, I get that he's your son, but, like,
not in 2014, I guess.
Pretty sure you're not allowed to, like, make a 9-year-old work at all.
Yeah, I don't know. But so I was interested, do you know if Jon Favreau, like, does have, like, a culinary background or anything like that?
So I don't know about a background. Like, I don't know if he worked in kitchens. Do you think this was just, like, his fucking hobby, and he just thought he was, like, super good at it? He's literally Nicholas Hoult in the Menu. Oh my god. Yeah, I am under the impression that he just had an interest in it because they did bring in professional chefs and specifically the owner of a food truck to come in as, like, consulting for all of the food shots, all of the, like, food prep. They wanted everything to be as, like, done as realistically as possible. Like, you wouldn't, I don't know, like, the way the kitchen was set up and everything, they're like, we don't want it to look like a movie set. We want it to look like a real, like, you know, 5-star restaurant kitchen or whatever. So I think they brought in a lot of, like, consultants for all of that stuff, and I believe all of, like, the food shots of, like, people making stuff, like, those aren't Jon Favreau's hands, those are, like, a professional chef's hands in there, like, doing all that shit. So there are scenes, though, where he's, like, chopping a zucchini really fucking fast, so he has to, like, have some sort of personal investment in cooking to have, like, knife skills like that, or maybe he just trained for this role. I really don't know.
I could not fucking say. Speaking of having something be real, the other thing that lays on this spectrum of unreasonable plot lines is that a food review would go viral.
Oh my god. Like, this,
like, be fucking for real. The
Twitter element of this just killed me, because just, like, being like, oh, your tweet blew up last night and now there's, like, reservations out the door for your LA restaurant. Like, maybe there is more of, like, a sub, you know, discourse on social media about, like, local restaurants or whatever, like, that I am just not tuned into. But, like, yeah, that, like, this would be, who even is a food critic? I can't even name one. But, like, this would be like if, what's his name, Roger Ebert, he's dead now, but he's, like, does movie reviews. If, like, he gave something 2 stars and then it, you know, sold out in every movie theater in America because Roger Ebert said this movie was bad, you know, people just have to see for themselves. Like, that is not... And also, the other realistic thing to me, though, about this is that the food critic guy was like, oh, I just thought we were, like, playing. Like, I thought that we were just, like, joking it up online to, like, drum up attention towards us because, like, ultimately it's good for both of us. People are reading my article and they're coming to your restaurant.
Jon Favreau was just being a man-child in this entire movie.
With, like, zero cultural knowledge of how anything works. Like, how do you... I'm like, my mom doesn't have any social media, but she fucking knows, like, what Twitter is.
Yeah.
Right?
And, like 2014 is not, like... It wasn't, like, 2006. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Twitter was first released, came to be in the world in 2006, I believe. So... Twitter's been out, for almost 10 years, so... But this movie did kind of make me a little bit nostalgic for, like, old social media, whenever they would, like, pull up the, like, old Instagram interface, or, like, the old Twitter interface. I'm like, back in the day, when there weren't, like, scary algorithms following you around, like, telling you to donate your eggs, or something, you know?
No, literally,
Back when, like, everything just had a bad filter on it, and everyone was just posting, like, what they had for lunch, like...
Yeah. Oh, bring it back.
I know, do I sound like the boomer version of Gen X? We're like, Probably. If you're gonna divide, or not Gen X, Gen Z, if you're gonna divide Gen Z into sub-generations, then we're the boomers of the Gen Z.
Yeah, it's like pre-2000 and post-2000, you know what I mean?
For sure. But yeah, the 1 second a day thing that brought me back to, did you ever have like that app on your phone where you like
No, I didn't.
You like logged it and it like kept it for you so you could that was so like 2010
when he brought up Vine.
Yeah. Yeah, that really dated this movie for sure.
Absolutely.
Tonight's specials on the menu include the chocolate or the vanilla. This is the very beginning of, I think, some really bad openers for chocolate or vanilla for this following month, considering it's Menu March and this is a relatively food-based, or at least food-named segment. I only expect that it's going to get worse from here, so I'm sorry ahead of time, but as always, my lovely mother Jen is here for her interim podcast segment, Chocolate or Vanilla. She says two things, we all say which one we like better. Jen, how are you? And is there a theme this week?
I'm really good. So I'm going to go this whole month with, I'm going to pick a restaurant and read menu items, and you have to pick.
Oh, so, I love that.
To me, going out to a restaurant is chocolate or vanilla. Like, you have to decide between so many things. So
I'm going to be so hungry
I am doing a breakfast one. I'm also wondering if we've probably done a lot of these before, because I tend to do food-based ones a lot, yeah.
Oh, who cares? Honestly, I bet people are going to be like, Dara, you are so inconsistent. You said a different thing last time. Like, you're going to say, like, waffles or pancakes, and I'm sure 1 month ago I was, like, ride or die for pancakes, and this month I'm going to be like, pancakes are fucked up, and I pick waffles. Like,
So these are all things off the menu from the Main Diner in Wells, Maine.
The Main Diner in Wells, Maine. Any particular reason why you picked that?
Yeah, just because it's kind of famous, and it's breakfast all day.
Okay, slay. I've never heard of this diner.
You've been to this diner. Everyone has been to the Main Diner in Wells. The white and blue 50s kind of theme. It's got a gift shop. It's like, it's
sure
famous. Emily, have you been there?
No.
The Main Diner?
I don't think so.
It is a very basic breakfast menu, I will also say that.
Can you, at one point, can you do the menu of the restaurant that I used to work at?
Yes.
Oh my
God.
God.
Afterwards, you'll have to send me the link, and I will definitely.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like fried seafood or ice cream, and then that's
it.
That's it.
Thing.
Oh, the menu for the one on the lake?
Yeah, I don't think I ever worked anywhere else.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I thought maybe you did. I just didn't know.
Wait. Trader Joe's would be a good one, though.
Ooh, that's true.
All Trader Joe's items. Okay, I'm sorry. We're doing like a brainstorm live right now. Jen, I'm so sorry. Please continue.
So, like I said, this is very, very basic kind of breakfast questions, but chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry?
Chocolate.
I'll stick with vanilla today.
Yeah, I'll go strawberry. All right, coffee, tea, or hot chocolate?
Coffee. Especially diner coffee hits so hard because it's bad in, like, the good way.
It's, like, bad, but it's so strong that you end up, like, with heart palpitations by the end of your meal. Because they just keep coming around for refills. Yeah, diner coffee.
Yeah, coffee for sure, every time. The next one is, for your juice, orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice.
I'm an OJ gal through and through, to the point where I refuse to mix alcohol with orange juice because I don't want to ruin the purity and the sanctity that is orange juice for me. Like, I don't ever want to drink orange juice and have the thought of, like, tequila in my mind. No. Like, I refuse it. I refuse to do... I'll mix with other juices, but, like, for some reason, orange juice is very sacred to me. And I also, at a diner, when it's, like, clearly from concentrate, but it's, like, bad, like, it's so bad that it's good kind of thing, that also is, like, a diner menu item that kind of hits. Also, the 3 drinks, you get your water, your juice, and your coffee. That's, you need the 3 drinks set up.
I'm a staunch apple juice consumer. I love a good orange juice. Don't get me wrong if I'm, like, making my own breakfast. But if I'm going to a diner, I'm getting Mott's and I'm chugging it.
That is so awesome. I would pick OJ for breakfast for sure.
Have you
Next
ever
one?
heard that, like, drinking apple juice before bed, like, gives you weird dreams? Have you ever, like, done that?
No,
That's, like, a thing.
No, I drink cherry juice before bed because it has natural melatonin in it, and it
Oh,
knocks
I didn't
you
even know
out.
that.
Yeah,
It
it's
does?
really good.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Where do you get cherry juice? In the juice
Trader
section?
Joe's.
Trader Joe's. Next one is, do you want your egg over easy or scrambled?
Over easy. I want my yolk runny.
I like scrambled when I make my scrambled eggs, but if not, then yeah, over easy. At a diner, over easy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like to get scrambled when I'm out. And my family has got me into the runny yolk. I used to not like my yolks runny, but now I do.
Are you a hard-boiled egg person, Jen?
I don't like hard-boiled eggs.
Good. Okay. Just had to check.
Disgusting. Disgusting. I'm sorry for all the hard-boiled egg lovers out there, but you fucking freak me out.
They smell really funky, too. Next one is for your breakfast, Sammy. You want it on a bagel, English, or croissant?
So I'm a bagel girl through and through, but I do have TMJ, which is like job issues. And so when I order a breakfast sandwich on a bagel, I have to like unhinge my jaw like a snake to like get a bite in there, and then like use, you know, the like force of what is it, like those things that crush like metal, like a
compactor.
Yeah, it takes so much energy, and my jaw clicks so loud that everyone at the breakfast table is like, "Are you good? like, is something happening?" But I just love having my breakfast sandwich on a bagel so much that it's worth the like day of soreness.
That's wild. I think bagel is the obvious choice. What did you say? Was it English muffin also?
Yep. Or croissant.
Fuck. You see, I'll get a croissant if I'm feeling bougie. Bagel's the safe bet. But I feel like the ratio of bread to filling on an English muffin is perfect. So I'm going to go English muffin. Especially with a little butter on it. Ugh.
Yeah, I would say none of these are wrong, but I want my breakfast sandwich on a bagel. And I will attest to Dara's jaw being really loud with bagels. I feel so bad for you.
I pity the fuck out of you.
Next one is home fries or hash browns.
Okay. I mean both. Both are great, but I like a hash brown, but sometimes I get wary if the diner isn't gonna make them crispy as fuck. Like if you get soggy hash browns, it's so sad because it's like
more.
It's like a par cooked sad wet potato mush. Absolutely not. So you gotta suss out the diner, and if you know, like I always like peep at like the tables around me to like get a glimpse if they look like good and crispy or not. But I typically am a hash over home.
I'm definitely more of a home fry girly because I feel like they're better seasoned, and that's what does it for me.
Oh, with a little onions. I
would go home fries.
I live directly next to a breakfast place that asks you if you want peppers and onions in your home fries, and I'm like, who the fuck would say no to that? Like, yes.
Next one is for your breakfast meat: bacon, sausage, or ham.
Bacon.
Easy bacon, and I'll tell the diner. I'll be like, I want it crispy, because again, it's in the same vein of like, I don't want like a soggy hash brown. I don't want flimsy bacon.
Yeah, I would rather have my bacon overcooked than undercooked, for sure.
Absolutely, every time.
Yeah, there is a right answer here. Bacon every day, right? Next one. You're going to order the Texas-style French toast or the blueberry pancakes. And you're in Maine, by the way.
Oh, okay. Suddenly, like...
Be wary of your blueberries.
Yeah, like, geographic influence here. I still would pick the French toast in the eons-long debate of pancakes, waffles, or French toast. I am in the lane of French toast because it's got more to it, you know?
Yeah.
It's got cinnamon and, like, the egg, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just an egg girl, but...
Yeah. It depends if I'm getting eggs with it already or not, but I don't know. I think I've changed within the last year, and ever since I've become a blueberry pancake guy. I don't know. Something about the blueberries. Like a standard pancake or even a chocolate chip, I would have said French toast. But something about a blueberry pancake just takes it.
Yeah, see, both of these are awesome, but I'm going to say Texas-style French toast. And then I think with pancakes, there's so much that I feel like I can't order any sides. Because, like, I know there's no way I'm ever going to eat the pancakes, but I don't just want to get one thing.
That's true. I usually opt for, like, my breakfast is, like, the toast, the egg, the bacon, and I'll get a side of home fries. So, like, that's standard.
Definitely.
The classic American.
What do they call it? Like the 444 or whatever? Or lumberjack? You're the lumberjack special.
2x2x2. The next one is, do you want your Belgian waffle with maple syrup or with fruit on the top?
Syrup. I recently was out to breakfast with Henry, and he was like, they had pancakes that had cranberries and blueberries in them, and they called them, like, Cape Cod pancakes or something. He's like, that sounds great. And then I put a little maple syrup in my coffee, because I usually run that, and he goes, wait. He goes, Dara, is that real or fake? Like, syrup. And I was like, oh, it's like the fake stuff. And then the waitress comes to ask if we're ready, and he was like, no, I need a minute. Because he had to change his order because he found out that the syrup was, like, the Aunt Jemima and not the, like, for real stuff. And I was like, oh my god, Henry, such a drama queen. I like both. I like the fake stuff and the real stuff. So I'm a syrup girl.
And he missed out on the doubleberry pancakes. They could have been amazing.
He said he didn't want the fake syrup. He's like, it's going to ruin my whole day. And I was like, okay, Henry.
Yeah, drama queen. Oh my god. Yeah. He's sticking to his guns. I'm also a syrup bitch, so I'm definitely going to go syrup as well. Because sometimes the fruit's too much. Sometimes they pile that shit high.
Yeah. I agree. I would go with maple syrup every time. Next one is Eggs Benedict or quiche?
Eggs Benedict. I will pick Eggs Benedict over almost anything else you say. Ever.
I knew you were going to say that.
See, I like the Eggs Benedict, but I want it with the bacon instead of the ham. So, yeah, Eggs Benny still, though.
Benny. I'm going to pick quiche. I don't like even though I said I'm getting into runny eggs, Eggs Benedict is too soupy for me.
It's too far into the deep end. You're still dipping your toes.
And I like a good quiche. Gary makes a good quiche.
I do like a good quiche.
Next one is, on your cheese omelet, you want American, Swiss, or cheddar?
Cheddar. I could think there's something to be said for all three, but if it's like a one cheese situation, ched.
Yeah, I'm a cheddar girl through and through. I know, like, when people talk burgers, the whole thing is, like, American is, like, the correct burger. I don't give a fuck. I think American is bland. You might as well put, like, a Munster or some shit on there. It doesn't do anything for me. I want cheddar.
No Munster slander on this podcast. It's a good cheese. There's nothing wrong with Munster.
When she was little. Darius used to call it monster cheese.
So this is coming from a nostalgic place for her.
Yeah.
I would pick cheddar. Yeah, like really finely shredded cheddar on my omelet. Definitely. Next one, still with omelets. You want a veggie omelet or a bacon and cheese omelet?
Bacon and cheese. Veggie is too up in the air. Are they going to be soggy? What kind of veggie are you going to throw in there? Like, I'm going to need more context for this choice. Whereas bacon and cheese, it's safe.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to go there on this one, even though I do like a good veggie omelet. But omelets aren't really my jam.
Yeah, I like veggie omelet, so I'm going to pick veggie, but I feel like I can make a better veggie omelet than a lot of places. Like, I like my home veggie omelet. Last one. For your muffin, you want blueberry, cranberry nut, or corn?
Probably blueberry, just a standard. Especially, we're in Maine. Sorry, lest I forget. We're in Maine, so I gotta get the blueberry muffin. Cranberry nut, that's so specific, Jen. This is from their menu. I forgot that you're not coming up with these. You're literally just ripping it from the book. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hate. I'm going with the bloob.
I'll also stick with the blueberry on this one.
Yeah, I guess I will too. I love muffins as a rule, though. I'll take any kind of muffin, except for bran muffins. I don't like bran muffins.
Yeah, fair.
But that is it for breakfast from the main diner, chocolate or vanilla.
Beautiful.
Shouts out Wells, Maine. I'd like to note that we are not sponsored by any of the restaurants that will be featured on this segment for this month or the foreseeable future. Although we are open to negotiations if the main diner would like to reach out. Because this essentially has been a 15-minute ad for them. So, just, what to consider. But as always, Jen, thank you so much for making us all hungry and giving us the platform to express our opinions. We love you, and we will see you next week.
I love you guys. Have a great night.
I have one, but so basically, this is like, I feel like it's so self-insert fan fiction. Like,
Yeah.
He so clearly was on the set of Iron Man 2, which every actor in this movie was also in Iron Man 2, like, or in, in fucking Marvel movies. And so Jon Favreau was, like, on the set of Iron Man 2, and he was just, like, in his trailer, just, like, furiously masturbating. And I feel like, a lot of men, or maybe, like, straight men, maybe this is a generalization, but, like, I feel like a lot of men, if you ask them, like, about sexual fantasy, right, they'll give you, like a celebrity touch point, or like a body type, or like a physical description. They'll be like, oh yeah, like Kate Upton in that video where she's dressed like the Easter rabbit. Like, that is really that's my fantasy, right? Like, that's, I feel like a lot of, like, straight men answer like that. I feel like you ask a woman about her, like, sexual fantasy, and she starts world building. Like, she's like, no, you don't, like, to slip into this headspace, we have to start, like, back, it's a mythical sort of, like, post 1800s, but also, like, there are dragons, and, like, and, like, that's where it starts, right? And then it, like, ends with, like, the fantasy, but it's, like, a whole, like, fucking, like, Bridgerton-esque world-building thing that has to happen around but first, right? But I feel like Jon Favreau...
That's why, like, porn has plots. Yeah. It's not for the men, it's for the women.
Oh, but they're so bad. Sometimes I just watch it because I think they're so funny. Like, I'm stuck in the washing machine. Like, who... But I feel like Jon Favreau...
What are you doing in there?
But I feel like Jon Favreau is, like, the one straight man who, like, breached into this level of, like, enlightened consciousness, and he was, like, jerking off in his trailer, and he was like, okay, he's like, I just am not creative enough to come up with new characters, so I'm just gonna, like, pull from the actors around me. And he's, like, jerking off. He's like, yeah, and I'm the head chef, and I'm fucking the hot hostess. Oh, with Black Widow. Oh, yeah, and then... my hot wife, Sofia Vergara, she gives me a food truck from Iron Man, who we were married to the same woman because we're both so cool. And he's just jerking off in his little, like, chef fantasy. And then he got that paycheck and he was like, might as well write it down. This is like what
he finally busts when the Cubano comes into the picture.
It's when craft services knocks at his trailer. It is like, John, you have to be back on set in 15. We've got sandwiches. Do you want me to just leave it outside? Oh, my God.
We sell sandwiches.
I really feel, I was like, this is like a masturbatory self-insert, like, sexual fantasy movie.
No, it so is.
It's so weird.
And, like, here's the thing is because, like, especially that scene, which, like, I know it's, like, food porn and all that shit, like, that scene where he's cooking for Scarlett Johansson and she's just eye-fucking him in the pasta at the same time, if you just took that as, like, just that scene as in itself, that could be the start of a porn. Yeah,
but like a highbrow, like, in the For Women section.
Yeah, like Balesa made it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. But I honestly, they were kind of real for this, though, that the hot hostess at the restaurant is, like, fucking the head chef, even though he's, like, a grubby 50-year-old man who's, like, not hot. Oh, yeah. But, like, he makes a good carbonara, so she's like, I'll put out. Like, that makes sense to me, that, like, he's cooking her that pasta, and I'm like, I'd smash.
See, I feel like it'd be more realistic if she was, like, fucking like the dish boy because he like has good coke.
Yeah. yeah. That's like, I think maybe like one tier below. Like their restaurant has a Michelin star. We're just talking like regular star restaurant.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, no, that's probably happening at the highbrow places too, though. TBH. But yeah, I feel like him casting his two love interests as Scarlett Johansson and Sofia Vergara is just fucking hilarious. But I think it's like, I'd like to think it was self-aware that he was like, yeah, like might as well run
I think
this.
that's why like he like put in these weird like jabs like at himself, being like, oh, you gained so much weight since the last time I saw you. So like it might be a little self-aware, but like it was just like, I'm like, what do you,
or like
what?
That if you're that good at cooking, you can pull anyone. Like, is that?
Yeah, talent is hot.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if it doesn't
like,
matter that he's like kind of average looking, but like he makes fucking good food, so he gets pussy. Like that kind of makes sense to me.
Absolutely. Like if you knitted me something absolutely insane, I might get a little turned on.
And like, I don't know, to me it's like the knife skills, like chopping an onion really fast is so hot.
That's the thing, yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know, if I don't have much dating advice for anyone ever, because you shouldn't be taking it from me, but I feel like learn how to make like one dish that's semi-complicated, but like not too complicated, like really fucking good, and just do that for like your fourth date or something, and you are gonna get laid. Like,
what's that dish for you?
Oh, I don't know.
Considering that you are dating John, or not dating, you're married to Jon Favreau, basically.
He's less of a Jon Favreau, and he's more of the Swedish chef, I'd like to think.
Yes.
We're a little bit more Muppety. I don't know. I think maybe it's Henry makes really good risotto, and to me that's like something that is like technically difficult enough that I could never make it myself. And like the fact that he can do it so well is like very impressive. The thing for me also was that Henry was a really good chef when we were in high school, so I like was only eating like fucking McDonald's and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and he was like, let me come like saute you some steak, and I was like, what the fuck, like we're 15, like that's not normal. So I think that like Henry and I, that it was the foundation of like maybe that is like why I find cooking so hot, because very early in my romantic life, him being like, let me make you risotto, I was like, what?
But what's yours? What's your dish like that you can make?
Oh, the thing that I could make. Well, so that if we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming, I based my food and drink off of that piece of advice of like what is a thing that you could make to like woo someone, basically.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah. But so if we want to get into first fuck, marry, kill, who do we think the main three are? Jon Favreau, and then like
him and his two love interests.
So the love triangle.
So obviously we're killing Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And then I'm gonna I'm gonna fuck Sofia Vergara because she has that kid and I don't want to get that involved with that. I am not being your stepmommy, thank you. And also she's like a little pushy, which I really love. But I like Scarlett Johansson's character because she was like really gassing him up. Like my confidence would be like through the roof. She's got those cunty little stars on her shoulders for tattoos.
Are those real, I wonder? I know none of his tattoos in this movie are real.
I don't think it is.
They were all of his tattoos in this were fake. Which,
of course.
That's why I was like, if he has a knife tattooed on his inside of his arm, he has to be a chef for real. And then I Googled it, and I'm like, oh, it's a fucking fake tattoo, obviously. I feel like I have to maybe agree with you. Just to switch it up, I feel like I'll fuck Jon Favreau just so he'll make me, like, good pasta before. Like, I'd put out for pretty good pasta. And then I'm gonna kill... I'll kill Scarlett Johansson. Just because she said that she could play Harriet Tubman. Did she say that? She said something kind of similar to that.
I have no idea.
I think she just said that, like, race doesn't matter when you're casting somebody because I could play a tree because I'm an actress. But it's like, okay, I think for some reason this is equating that she, like, said that she could play Harriet Tubman to me. I don't know if that's true or not, but Scarlett Johansson has said some, like, quasi-problematic things about
But I'm
race.
talking about her character. I'm not talking about Scar.
No, but I don't care. So I'm just gonna kill her because she gives me the ick.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna marry Sofia Vergara just because her house is fucking huge.
Gorgeous.
And she seems like a career woman, so I could probably just like chill. I could probably just hang out. And I don't mind.
Yeah, you could be a trophy wife.
That kid seems pretty self-sufficient. I don't think I'm gonna have to like parent him.
He was a very cute kid too.
I feel like him and the boy from 20th Century Woman could play like brothers or twins or something.
Absolutely, they could.
Yeah, that I googled to see if it was the same kid, but I was like, not quite, but almost.
Yeah, it's the hair.
Yeah. And then I guess from the whole movie, I'm gonna marry John Leguizamo, and I'm gonna run the food truck with him and I'm gonna kill Jon Favreau. I'm gonna kill Jon Favreau, and I'm gonna take over the food truck with John Leguizamo, who is in the menu. He's like the guy who like
he is.
Yeah, right?
Oh my god.
I thought that was such a funny like little crossover moment. I'm like, guys who are in food porn movies, like, you know, weird that it happened to you twice.
Oh, I love that.
And then, kill Jon Favreau, and I'm marry John Leguizamo, and then who out of this whole movie I'm gonna fuck Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, I'm gonna also kill Jon Favreau still. I'm gonna fuck Robert Downey Jr. And then I'm gonna marry. Who am I gonna marry? I'm gonna marry the chef that took over his position.
Oh my god. The guy who's hungover all the time.
Yeah. He's hot.
What was I gonna say? I feel like Robert Downey Jr.'s like one scene in this movie where he's like, I didn't get my secretary pregnant, but like maybe I'll pretend that I did, was another thing that just like could have been. I know that they were trying to establish that he's like kind of like a weird like business guy. Like, I don't know, but that whole 15-minute chunk, I was like, this can go. Like, what is going on right now? Like, I don't need this.
They need to be there. Yeah, he just wanted to like flex that he's friends with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. owed him a couple of favors, and he's like, yeah, I'll show up to set for like one day.
Yeah, basically. And then, so you're hosting a party.
Yes.
And you're watching this movie.
Yes.
With your friends.
Mm-hmm.
What are you serving?
So I didn't want to base my answer off of stuff that they show in the movie, because I just felt like that was a little too obvious. Like, the spaghetti that he makes for ScarJo, the really good grilled cheese, the Cuban sandwiches, when he's doing like his experimental menu, I think he makes like a brisket with like pickled onions or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All of that like looks great and makes my mouth water, and I want it, but I'm just like too easy. Like, that's a softball, right?
Yeah.
So I went back to my sort of what's a thing that you can make that's like not too difficult, but is still impressive enough that you could impress other people with it. And so my two that are true for me, that I also would implore anyone else to learn how to make this if you want to like seem like you know how to cook, but even if you like don't really. So for my drink, a cucumber mojito. It's a half a step up from a regular mojito, which is also like not that hard to make, but like it involves, I don't know, using a shaker with ice. You can cut the cucumber kind of fancy to do a little swirly garnish or something. And it's like something that you could like order at a restaurant and they would charge you like $14 for it and whatever. But you can also like, I think I just use cucumber flavored like Kettle One vodka, and then white rum, soda water, whatever. I make my own simple syrup with mint, but store-bought is also fine. Mint, cucumber, like, done. It's pretty easy, but it has enough ingredients that it's still kind of elevated, but it is super simple that you can't really fuck it up. And if you, like, make that for guests, they're like, ooh, it has a garnish. It's fancy, right? That's something. This is, I'm talking about impressing people who, like, don't know how to cook really well. I'm not impressive to, like, I am friends with a lot of, like, chefy people, and like they are not impressed by me. So I'm talking if you're like, you're on your third date with someone type beat. And then seems kind of unimpressive, but you can elevate it as much or as little as you want. I said for food, stir fry. You can make a really fucking bomb stir fry. It can be really fucking impressive because stir fry can also be shit. And stir fry, I like customizable. It can be vegetarian. It can be complex. It can be simple. You can use whatever kind of, I don't know, really broad, but that's something that I think is easy to practice a lot too. Like, you can practice making stir fry. There's no ceiling to how good your stir fry can be, basically. If you serve people really fucking good, you know, udon noodle with the and make your sauce from scratch too. Don't buy that pre-made shit, because that mostly is just cornstarch, and that's not really what you want. Get in there with, like, you know, soy sauce, crispy chili flakes, poison, get all your basics, and then make your own sauce, and that's going to be impressive too. So that was my thought process. What about you?
I like that a lot. I just said, like, you pick, if you've seen this movie, you pick the hottest thing that he makes in this movie and you make it, but I'm just gonna jump onto yours, honestly, because, like, I'm thinking about, like, so, what is it? The, like, my thing that I make for people that's, like, mildly impressive. I was, like, just running through my catalog in my head. I'm like, what have I cooked for my partner? And I have a ramen recipe that's really easy, but, like, it seems, like, really fucking complicated, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just a lot of cutting.
I think, yeah, right, the kind of thing that you would maybe think that, like, oh, I would never make this at home, but I would order it at a restaurant. If somebody can make that for you, like, yeah, like, fancy, and ramen's another thing, right? If people make it at home, they're probably making, like, the, you know, shitty boil in 3 minutes with the packet, but if you make a top tier fucking primo ramen, that's another one you can really customize it. I thought you were gonna say carbonara.
Make the jammy eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing, is that was my second one, is I make a pretty good carbonara, and I got, one of my coworkers, shout out to Shiloh Misha, told me about this, like, you make a miso carbonara, basically, where you go and you use, like, miso paste with the eggs and all the parm and everything like that, with, like a little bit of, sesame oil and, like, green onions on top. Also so fucking good.
That sounds hot.
I would probably do one of those, and then I would match it. I have this funky soju drink that I've made before that's really good, so, which I'm assuming you've had soju before, right? You
showed me soju. I didn't even know what it was until we watched Spirited Away together for the podcast, and you were like, let's drink soju, and I'm like, I've never had this before. I'm like, this tastes like candy. Like, how have I never... Yep.
It's like a high chew.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, but so you get, like, you basically make, like, this, like, strawberry syrup, which, like, you just go and you put sugar on strawberries and get them really syrupy and whatever. Just let them sit for a while. That, and then you get these little, like, it's like a creamy probiotic drink. They're called Yakults. They're so good. It's like a creamy citrusy drink, and they're really tiny. But you can find them at your local, like, Asian supermarket and everything like that. But you do some soju, you do that, you throw some strawberries in it, bangin'.
Ooh, that sounds good. I think mixing the soju sounds really fire, because I remember it being overwhelmingly sweet when I was drinking it. Like, I could only have one kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like if you do a little mixy, that's people who, like, don't actively make mixed drinks for themselves at home also will be so impressed if you just, like, bring out a shaker. I went to, like, a social event when I was in grad school, and I brought my shaker, and I made everyone, like, mules, and I just, like, fucking put blueberries in them, I think. Like, I literally did, and everyone was like, this is crazy. And I was like, it's really not. Like, you know,
I promise.
You can buy a shaker for, like, $10. You just shake your shit with ice, and it tastes like you got it at a restaurant. That's making your own drinks at home also really ruins going out, for at least for me, because it's like $14, and I'm like, I know that this is just, like, these 3 ingredients over ice. Like, pisses me off. That's another thing about learning how to cook is that you, like, get pissed about restaurants. You're like, okay, I know that the cost that it took you to make this was not that high.
Yeah. And then what are you going to force your guests to watch after this?
So You're
going for a double header.
I wanted to, like, give myself the rule that I'm not allowed to follow any of our food movies up with more food movies this month, because that, like, it seems a little too easy. But my first initial thought was the Bob's Burgers movie. It's pretty recent. I think it came out, like, maybe last year or whatever. Bob's Burgers, I think, is the great foil to this, where that's a dad who owns a restaurant who's a great dad. He also is struggling and trying his best and, you know, is in the restaurant business, but, like, ultimately does not let it affect his ability to be there for his kids. Love that. Love Bob's Burgers. So watch the Bob's Burgers movie. But then my other,
That's
if
a
you
good
wanna,
one.
if you want to go completely non-food, I know I said this like literally 2 weeks ago, but watch Uncut Gems, because that's another like career dad who's like letting his career pull him away from his family and like maybe like to his own detriment kind of thing. I have a movie playlist
Maybe to his own detriment.
I have a movie playlist.
Have you seen the way the movie ends?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not saying Idina Menzel could have saved him. That's all. Like, but I have a Letterboxd movie playlist just called Career Dads, and it's like these 3 movies are eerily similar, and it's Chef, Uncut Gems, and then The Santa Claus. All are like divorced or like on the brink of divorce dads who like let their career like take precedent over their family life. Like, I guess an umbrella, but
So we just came off of a documentary last week, and I feel like I love this series. It's like a mini docu-series, basically. It's called Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat.
I was gonna bet my life that you were gonna say Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, but
No. This is a chef who I would be like Scarlett Johansson in this with. I can't remember her name, but I would lay my life on the line for her. I'm in love with this woman. She seems like the most comforting force. She like it's basically like she like travels all over the world and like talks to you about like salt, fat, acid, and heat, and like breaks down like how foods work and like how to use them and like where they came from, and like just it's I don't know, but I adore her.
Yeah, her name is Samin Nosrat, and I also really enjoyed both her cookbook of the same name and that series. I think she's great, and she's like a great personality, I think, for that style that's like not too overbearing. Like as far as like celebrity chefs go, I think it like sometimes is too centered on the celebrity and less on the cooking. And I think she does a great job of like pointing out. It's also like educational to me about like why like the science of what's happening in your food is to me really interesting. Like, yeah, you should use oil with this instead of butter because of this reason, and that's why cooking with fat is important. And I like that it's not like gluttonous, but still like points out, I don't know, like good ingredients and things that look delicious. I agree. That's one of my fave chefy. I'm like a big, Henry and I are both like into like all the, you know, specialty food shows and stuff like that. But yeah, hers is great.
Yeah, I adore that one. She's like my Julia Child. You know how like I feel like a lot of people found Julia Child very comforting. Yeah, that's her for me.
And so this has been our first, unfortunately not as a positive. What are we?
What would you rate this movie, Dara?
I am gonna give it a 6, which I know is probably a little higher than what you're gonna give it. But I think like ultimately this is a movie that I will watch again because I'll just put it on to like have that
you'll
kind
like
of
be folding your laundry.
It's like stimulating enough for me, and I like where it is going, but I don't necessarily like all of the like beats of the plot of it. But I think it's cute. I think it's like trying to do something at least a little bit different. And I do think it's really interesting that the main character of this is like stepping away from like a big, maybe not corporate, but like a big, well-funded restaurant to do his own thing. And Jon Favreau is like worked for Marvel and then stepped away to do this movie, but like ultimately has stepped back into like the big Marvel Disney Plus directing thing. I'm like, interesting. Wonder if there's anything more to that than like meets the eye. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too into it, but I'll give it a 6 out of 10 just because I think it's his best work in my opinion. Maybe Elf, but
I'm gonna give it a 4. I thought it was aimless. The good parts of it, there weren't enough of. More food porn. The acting was subpar. It just wasn't my kind of movie.
Yeah,
I thought there was so much that could be improved upon, and like I said, it just felt half-assed.
Yeah, it was a little.
I don't think.
It's a little frustrating to watch. Which I agree. Like, feeling like I could rewrite this movie and I'm not a screenwriter is like, oh my god, like I'm like crawling out of my skin. So I can see why you disliked it, but I still think it's okay. You know, it could have been a lot worse. But that was kicking off menu, merch. We are doing all food movies. Like I said earlier, please send us your suggestions. Maybe I'll put up a little like Instagram poll or whatever, but like always feel free to slide into our DMs. Also with month themes. This month was a listener suggestion, so, you know, maybe give us something that sparks an interest with us, and maybe we'll do it in the future, because we don't really plan too far ahead with this podcast. So any future month themes, it doesn't have to be specific to any, it doesn't have to be a pun. You know, we're not married to doing pun months.
No.
Yeah, or just movie suggestions in general, stuff that you think that we should like. If you've stuff that you think that we should like, Jesus, stuff that you think we might like. If you've seen Cocaine Bear, please leave us a review of that, because I would love to know. And one last final shout out. We did just put out new merch because, again, a wonderful listener suggestion. A listener named Kai slid into our DMs and pointed out that we, last week on our Jesus Camp episode, were hyping up Levi for his Jesus in the Reese's font shirt, and they were like, why don't you do that with the swamp? And I was like, that is genius. So might get a cease and desist from Hershey, but it's called, like, I named it like brand name peanut butter chocolate snack shirt. So so hopefully I'm being like non-denominational enough to ward them off. But yeah, new merch out, link in the bio. Even if you just want to like look at it and click on it, if you click on any of our links, it helps with like algorithmic bullshit. Yeah. So just click on it and check it out. I think that they're pretty funny. I made like little crop tops that say the swamp, and
they're so cute.
And the Reese's, not to brand name drop, but yeah, I thought that was a fun little thing to put together. So go check those out. And yeah, if that's not encouragement enough to let us know if you have merch ideas, movie ideas, any of that stuff, we love to hear it, and we love all of you. And goodbye and good night.